So, how do you make great music and build a better worship band that listens to one another and doesn't overplay? Well, there's an analogy that I like to use that really helps everyone to understand their role in the band. It's Dave Dolphin from practicalworshipblog.com sharing ideas, tips, and practical advice for the everyday worship leader. And we all want our worship bands to sound good. We drive around in the cars, we listen to music, maybe listen to the MP3 at home. We're inspired by the music that we hear. And then on Sunday mornings, we try to emulate that. And we have the same instrumentation. We have drums and bass and guitars and things like that. We're playing the same chords. But sometimes what we heard on the MP3 isn't necessarily what's coming out of the PA speakers on a Sunday morning, and we're shaking our heads and scratching our heads and trying to figure out why. And I think part of the problem is that in the context of worship ministry, it's made up of members a lot of times that aren't used to playing with other people. For example, you've got the guitar player that's a high school kid, comes home after school and plays electric guitar on the edge of his bed, and that's his context. Or the piano player that is used to playing the piano in her living room by herself, but you put them all together in a room playing in a band, they may not know or realize or how to play with one another because that context is different. So the analogy that I like to use when I'm working with teams is that music is like a pie, like you would eat at Thanksgiving. If you're a one-man show, if you're the only member of the band, well, then you get the whole pie. But let's say you're a three-piece. You have drums, you have bass, and you have one guitar. Well, you have to cut that pie into three pieces. Now, those are pretty still very large pieces. But let's say now we have drums and bass, two guitars, and a keyboard player. Well, now we have to cut those pieces into smaller pieces, into five pieces, because I think the mistake that many teams make is that as you add more people, we think that the pie gets bigger, but it doesn't. The pie always stays the same size. So you have to cut the pieces smaller. That means that the amount of notes that you play, what you contribute to the band as an individual musician, has to get less and less because the size of the pie, the arrangement, the song, the music doesn't get any bigger. Now, the pieces of the pie don't all have to be the same size. They can change depending on the band. They can change depending on the song, even dependent on a certain section of the song. For example, if you have a song that's real piano driven, then their piece of the pie is probably going to be a little bit bigger. If you have a really guitar driven song, their piece of the pie is going to be bigger. If you've got a section of a song that really features the drums, well, then their piece of the pie for that section of the song is going to be bigger. And a great example of this is from the band, Dave Matthews Band. And when they were first starting out in the mid-90s and coming on the scene, they had a song called What Would You Say? And their drummer, Carter Buford, Dave Matthews is known for playing really technical. I mean, that's kind of their thing. And Carter Buford's really good at what he does. And so there's kind of this cool little groove that he establishes for the song. But when it's time for the saxophone solo in the middle of the song, what does Carter do? He actually straightens out. He's not as syncopated. He's not playing as many notes on the kick drum. He is making room for the saxophone, who has to have a section of this pie. And then when the saxophone solo's done, he goes back to a little bit more of a busy pattern with his kick, and because he's getting that piece of the pie back. So if there's more people in the band and the size of your piece of the pie is getting smaller, that means you need to play less. You need to play less notes, and what you're going to contribute to the band, to the arrangement, is going to be less because you're making room for other people to contribute as well. So what that means, if you're a drummer, it means you're probably going to simplify your kick patterns a little bit, or simplify your fills, or play less fills, or play fills less often in the song. If you're a bass player and those kick patterns are simplifying, well, that's going to simplify what you do. If you're an electric guitar player, maybe there's two in the band, the first thing I would do is I would establish who's going to be in what sonic space. In a lot of bands, you have a rhythm electric player and you have a lead electric player. So the rhythm electric player is going to play lower on the neck, probably have that wall of sound, lots of drive on their guitar, and they're just going to play chords. And instead of going chink, 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 they're probably going to just play whole notes. Just play that note, let it ring, let it sing, and then when the chord changes, play it again. If you're a lead electric player, then you're probably going to play higher up on the neck, and you're going to do more kind of chimey, melodic stuff, ear candy, those kinds of things. And you might only play 2, 3, 4 notes over and over and over. However, it's those 2 or 3 or 4 notes that really make that song, that arrangement work. If you're a keyboard player, one of the best things you can do is sit on your left hand and play a majority of your notes in the right hand. Maybe you play one note with your left hand, and in the right hand, instead of playing the full chord, the 1, 3, and the 5, maybe take one of those notes out. Play the 1 and the 5, or play the 1 and the 3, or play the 3 and then play the 1 up here, so that you have a lot of space. Instead of banging out all these different chords and playing all these different notes, take some of those notes out within the chords, because they're still going to be played by maybe other instruments. You don't have to play the third, because someone else in the band might be playing the third. So hopefully that analogy helps, that when you're working with your teams and you're trying to get them to not overplay, that if you can describe music as a pie, and then as you add more people, the pie doesn't get any bigger, so the pieces that you cut up from the pie have to get smaller. Well, here at Practical Worship, we love sharing ideas and tips and practical advice for the everyday worship leader with videos just like this one. Sometimes we do tours of some of the equipment that we have at our church that might inspire you and give you ideas for your church. Sometimes we talk about how to communicate better with Planning Center. But regardless, if this was helpful, we would love for you to subscribe to the channel. That way you know when new videos are uploaded to YouTube every single Tuesday. And if you know someone that might benefit from hearing this, consider sharing the link on your social media, on Facebook and Twitter and places like that. And for more great practical advice, check out practicalworshipblog.com.